Welcome back again. This is lesson 3 at High Spirits Music and Harps. Let's review a little bit of what we did last week. First, we talked about tuning the instrument and making sure that it sounds as good every time you play it. Then we looked at landmark notes. So I'm thinking, after a week of practicing, that you're familiar with all the C's, the G's in the right hand, and the F's as well in the left hand. Now, I'm saying a lot in a short moment there, so if there's anything that you'd like to review, feel free to do so anytime. We're going to go on now based on what we know about landmark notes. This first exercise is called stepping up, and you'll see it on the next page. What you should do first is take a pencil, and we'll do this together in a minute, and circle the first of every pair of notes. So in each bar, you'll see 2 notes, circle the first one. That is a landmark note, just so you know. So when you come to it, you'll know, right hand, it's going to be either a C or a G. That's where we'll start. Here's how to do the circling of landmarks. When you get to the stepping up and down page, you'll look for the first note in every bar and give it a circle like that. All of these ones are the landmarks, so that's where you start. You know those notes already. The note underneath it says 2 things. One is it tells you what finger to use. In this case, it's a 2 for the landmark note and a thumb for the step up. This little thing is the bracket. Looks like a kind of upside down open staple, and it holds these 2 fingers together. So we'll do that for this page and for this page. The first note of every bar you're going to circle, and you're going to get to know these so well. Even in the bass clef. First note, F's and C's. What that little bracket under the first 2 notes means, that little looks like an opened up staple, it means you place the 2 fingers at the same time and you place them together just like we did in lesson 1 when we stepped up from C to D. So this first exercise is called stepping up because you only go up 1 note at a time. 1 note will be on a line, the next note will be in a space. That's how they alternate. If we were to look at the harp, we would see this note C is on a little line, the next note up is in a space. The next note's a line, then a space, then G is a line, space, line, space, line, space. And that's how the whole staff works. So to start with, we'll place finger 2 on middle C. The thumb will be 1 step above it on D. And going back to lesson 1 and remembering my finger points down, my thumb points up, and I try to squeeze a good bit of flesh onto that string. It will give me a nice warm tone. Now I'm going to play them 1 at a time. Finger 2, and then the thumb. Let's move to the next bar. What note did you circle? The first note? It was a G. So finger 2 goes on the G. There's a little 2 beside it. The thumb goes 1 step above it. We don't really know the name of that note, but all we care about is that we know G, and the next note is 1 step up. Play G. The thumb played an A, didn't it? The next note in the next bar that's circled is a C. This is the high C. 3 spaces up is high C. Step up from that, and you play C, first, and D. Now we're going to do some descending. The top note that you'll see is a G. This time it says a 1, which means finger 1, which is your thumb. So we'll put the thumb on it, and at the same time we'll put the finger 2 a step down. G to F. First G, F. What's the next note? We did this one before, but with a different finger. Put your thumb on high C, step down one note. And the last one, your thumb is on a G, finger 2, a step down. Congratulations, you've played your first exercise with brackets. Those brackets are going to help you play smoothly throughout your harp playing life, because what they do is link 2 or 3 or even 4 or more notes together and make them flow. Otherwise, you'd always be playing like this, you know, sort of one finger at a time. Is not as smooth and flowing. Now let's do the left hand. Do you remember what that first low note is on the page? Put finger 2 on it, and your thumb will be a step above it. So that low note was a low F. And the thumb is pointing up, the finger is pointing down. Bring finger 2 into your palm, take your time. Now your thumb's still sitting on G. Now let's play G. The next note is C. Put your second finger on it because there's a little 2 beside it, and your thumb is a step above. 2, thumb. The last one on that line you've circled because you circled these landmark notes ahead of time. Finger 2 goes to F, and the thumb is a step above. Fully closed, just like lesson 1. Let's come down. On the descending version, it's your thumb that's placed on the landmark note. It's middle C, and a step down from middle C. It's a funny sounding interval, isn't it? The next one, your thumb is on F, that's it, and a step down. And what's the last one? You tell me. Right. Thumb on C, step down. Cheers for the left hand. Let's take the next exercise. It's based on the same principle. Place finger 2 on C, and the thumb this time is skipping up. So it skips out the D and goes to the next line note. So when you're skipping, you're going from a line, skip a note to the next line, skip a note to the next line. So we just want 2 of those. Finger 2 is on middle C, and the thumb is on E. Now we'll play one and then the other. The next landmark note is G. Second finger on the G. Thumb skips up. And the last landmark note in that line is high C. Put your second finger on it, skip up from there with your thumb. Beautiful. Now let's do the next line. So the thumb note is that high G, isn't it? Now if you skip down from there, from that space to the space below it, you're on a G and an E. Now where does your thumb go? High C. Skip down, so you skip out one string. The last one, G, and skip down. Let's do the left hand. The low note once again is low F. You've circled it because it's a landmark. The thumb skips up from F, skip out that G, and you land on the A. Finger 2, thumb. What's the next landmark note? Low C. Skip up to E. The next one is F, and skip up to A. Beautiful. Let's do the descending version. So the last line on the page, your thumb starts on middle C. Now if you skip down, where do you end up? On A. C, skip down. The next note is, are you familiar yet? Is it starting to get familiar? That is the F below middle C. Skip down with your second finger, thumb, 2. And the last one, thumb's on C, finger skips down. Now give yourself a chance to play these 2 pages several times during the course of your practice this week. I feel that practicing for about 10 or 15 minutes at a time is plenty when you're first starting to play the harp. You can only really focus on the new muscle movement for so long, and after that, it's not as productive. You'll gradually increase your practice time. Let's look at one finger rising falling. That's on the next page. The first thing we're going to do, it says circle the landmarks first. Okay, now we're used to that. So I'm going to go through. There's a middle C. What else do I know? Is that a landmark? No, it's not on the second line up, but this one is, so I'll circle that. Is this a landmark? Do I recognize it? 1, 2, 3 spaces up. Yes, that's high C. Looking across, oh, the same note, so I'll circle that one again. Skipping up from there, that wasn't a landmark, so I'm not going to circle it. This G is a landmark. It's sitting right above the staff. Aha, one last one. Highest C. Now I've got a whole lineup. Most of these are landmark notes. So what you're going to do is go down the whole page and do them over again. You're going to see lots of familiar notes, and you'll be circling lots of them. So do that first, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to play this page. You'll also notice on this page it says each quarter note counts 1 beat. So every one of the notes on this page is a quarter note. Counts 1. Now from here, middle C, we don't know that next note because it's not a landmark. But we do know that from this line note here, the next note is a line note, so it's skipped up. Remember that? Line to a line is a skip. So the next note is this E. The next note we see is middle G. And the next one is in a space. That is the C. So I'm just going to play that bar one more time and you'll hear me count 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that bar has 4 beats in it. If you look down the whole page, you'll see every bar has 4 beats in it. And then there's a line at the end that tells you that's the end of the bar. So let's start that line again, and then we'll keep going through the entire page. C, skip up again to G, and more than a skip to C. C repeats, skip up again to G, and more than a skip to high C. Lovely. That's the first line. The second line we play exactly the same notes. I'm sure you've noticed that by now, but we're going to play it with the thumb. The thumb needs to get a muscle, and it's going to build this muscle and build direction by playing this entire exercise by itself. So I'm going to relax these fingers without clutching them, and I'm going to open my thumb up nice and wide like this, so it's like it almost takes a great big bite out of the air. Push it like so. See all that action? The thing you don't want to do is squeeze your hand like this and just have a little twangy sort of a sound. So let your hand relax, drop down, squeeze on the thumb, and give it lots of room to move. Skip up to G, more than a skip to C. Repeat that note. Skip, skip to G, and highest C. Beautiful. For the last two lines, we do the same notes. I'm sure by now you've noticed they're descending this time. We'll start with finger 2, right at the top. Highest C, more than a skip down to G. Skip, high C. Repeat high C, more than a skip to G, a skip, and down to middle C. Great. The last time through, we're going to play this with the thumb. Highest C, get ready. Open up your hand, open up your thumb, give yourself lots of room. Let's do that one again. Now you're going to repeat this whole thing with the left hand. So you would start, you can just start it on middle C. Push your harp away from you a little bit so you're not cramped up here. And we'll start the whole thing with the left. I'm going to leave that to you to practice. Now we'll repeat this whole page with the left hand an octave lower. So we're just going to pretend that this is middle C. For our purposes at the moment, it'll work perfectly. So here's the C, skip up to G, and now C. Now I'm going to leave it to you to do those last two lines on your own. And once you've paused, practiced it, and you feel comfortable, we'll go to the next page. On the next page, we see a 2-finger workout. Here we are. Each quarter note is counting one beat, like the last lesson. Quarter note, quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. So this whole line is full of quarter notes. And you'll notice in each bar there are 4 of them. That's all I really want you to notice for now. 4 there and 4 there. And so you count them 1, 2, 3, 4. Start again. 1, 2, 3, 4. The very next thing to do is we're going to circle the landmarks. Now let's remember how we did this. There's middle C. G is on the second line up. High C is in the third space. And if we had a high G, it would be up here in this space. The first note we come to, we're going to circle because it's middle C. Do we see another landmark in that bar? No. How about this bar? Yes, we do. Here is G on the second line. And you take your pen and circle as well. Where are we now? Nothing there. Ah, here's another one. There's a C. Steps up a bit and back down to C. While we're at this, let's do the second exercise. Here we see 8th notes. There's still 4 beats in a bar, and there's one of them right there. There's a quarter note. But these two together now, these two little guys, they're tied together at the top with a beam, and they're called 8th notes. So they count like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you see the second one of each, we're going to say it and. Now let's go for our landmarks again. Middle C, G, and C. That's just to remind me when I look across, it gives me a nice visual of where they are. First one, you've got it already. You're ahead of me, aren't you? middle C. Are there any more in that bar? Nope. Keep going. Do we see any landmarks here? Aha, there's one. There's G above middle C. Let's keep going. Now I see two beside each other. And one last quarter note at the end of the line is also a G. Now let's play it. The first note, first quarter note, is middle C. So let's put our second finger on middle C. You'll see the next note in the bracket is only a step up from there. Maybe we don't know what the name of it is, but we know it's right next to middle C because it's only a step. From a line note to a space note. Great. Now the next note you can see is a step above that one. So let's put finger 2 on it and the thumb steps up 1. Now the next note in bar number 2 is G. We've got it circled. We're going to put our thumb on it. The bracket tells us place finger 2 directly below it, 1 step away. Let's start with the G. Now we see we're still stepping down from this F in the space. The next note down is a line, so we'll place our thumb on it and finger 2 1 step below that. Now for the last bar on that line. You can see middle C because it's circled. You know there are going to be 2 of them. So C, step up. Now the thumb goes 1 step above that. Oh, for the first time we're going to skip down, back to C to end. Let's play the whole thing. So join me. Move up. Thumb on G. Step down. Back to middle C again. Step up and skip down. Beautiful. Now give yourself a chance to put me on pause and you try that by yourself. Once you've finished, let's do the next line. This one is full of 8th notes. They should or could be faster, but we're going to take our time and learn them really well. You see middle C again, you see a step up again. Let's try it. C, step up. Oh, the next note in the line is the same one, so I'm going to switch and put my finger 2 on that note, and the thumb steps up above it. Once again I switch and finger 2 goes to that same note. Step up again, and step back down to the E. That's the quarter note. Let's repeat that bar and see how it sounds. Step up, step up, back down. Now the second bar does not start on middle C as we noticed, but it's a step above it. So let's put our finger on the D. Step up. Place both fingers. Now place so your thumb's on that G. Do you see it? And step back down. Now the third bar is not C either, but it is a skip up from C, from the line note C to the next line note up, starting on E, 2 thumb. Keep going. And the last note is G. Let's play the whole thing again. Ready? Start on middle C. This time start on D with finger 2. Remember that nice open space? This time we'll start on an E, F. Keep a big open space so your thumb has room to fly over. Fully close finger 2. Beautiful. Now you're on your way with brackets, with quarter notes, with eighth notes. And we are going to do our first song. Happy birthday. I know you know it. Okay, let's find out what we need to do first here. Oh, surprise, surprise. Circle the landmarks. Okay, what are we looking for? We're looking for middle C, middle G, high C, and high G. I don't put the high ones in when there aren't those notes in this song. So this is all we need to remember. C, G, C, G. Okay, where are we? Here's a G, and it has a friend right beside it. And those two say happy. And here's another G. You circle along with me, or do it in advance is even better. Do we see any more landmarks in this bar? If you spotted this one, good for you. Here we go, next bar. Look, there are those two happy little G's again. And keep going, and another G. This time, the C shows up after. There's high C. At the end of this bar, we see two more happy G's. And the next line, let's review. We're looking for middle C, middle G, high C, and high G. Right beside it. High G, skip down, and that's on the third space, C. You see how I'm doing this? You can do this all by yourself when you do your homework. That's not a G. Neither is that. Neither is that. Keep going. Ah, there's one we know. High C, and one more high C. Now, one last thing. There's a new note here, and it's a half note. It looks like this. That's a half note. And it gets 2 beats. Let's see where the others are. There's one. And at the end is another one. Each time we play this note, it sounds like la, la, 2 beats long. And you'll know it when you hear happy birthday. So let's be happy while we play this song. Finger 2 goes on the happy G. I call it happy G because we're going to say happy birthday. G first, and then the bracket tells us put the thumb on 1 step above. Even if we didn't know that was an A, we see it steps up. So there we go. Now let's play it. Happy birth. Now you just know you've got to go back to G again. Happy birthday. Once more. Happy birthday. Now what's that next circled note that your thumb goes to? High C. And does it step or skip down? It steps. To you. Let's play that whole phrase. From happy birthday, get ready. Finger 2 goes to G, the thumb goes to A. Beautiful. Now we're going to do happy birthday again. This time your second finger goes to that C and your thumb's a step above it. You see that bracket? Going right across the bar line. Now let's do that whole section from the beginning. C. Back to G again, 2/8 notes. one step higher this time. This time when we play happy, we don't put our thumb on A. We're going to leave our thumb free, and we're going to jump right up to the higher G. The thumb goes up to the high G, and then the second finger skips down, you'll see. Let's do that part again. We're doing a huge jump. Happy birthday. Then here comes a C, and then these two notes are beside each other. Neither one was a landmark, was it? So how do we know what to do? Because we knew this C, and we saw the next note stepped down, and the note after that stepped down. Lovely. Now the last section, remember I said this isn't a G? But look, it's a step down from G, so I'm going to put my thumb on the F right below that high landmark G. And we play two of them. Now C with finger 2, and the last little bracket, finger 2 goes back to C again. Let's do the last half of this song from the end of line 1. Jump up high to the high G. Play C with finger 2. Now step down with your thumb and then finger 2. Now thumb goes to that F. Remember, one step below high G. Two of them. C, end it, D, C. Now practice that many times over until you can play it for somebody in your family whose birthday's coming up. Just for a moment, let me talk about fingernails. Fingernails can be very glamorous and very beautiful. If you're playing the harp, they can also really get in the way. I've had many students come with long nails and eventually they trimmed them down, or they decided somehow they should play a different instrument. But really, there's no one exact length to say that they should be. Mine are not very long because that's just how it works best. The point is, you want a beautiful tone out of your instrument that doesn't have any kind of clicky sound that goes along with fingernails that are a bit too long. Everybody's fingertips are a little different from each other. Some have a longer nail bed and some are shorter nail bed. So you'll just have to decide what works, what doesn't make a clicking sound, what doesn't kind of sound hard when you play that string. You want it to be warm and inviting. So that's my note about fingernails. And that was lesson 3. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. Your practice points for this week. Remember to circle the landmarks on each page as you go along. Probably you've done it for lesson 3 by now, but I'm going to give you a hint. Go ahead a few pages before we meet again for lesson 4. Circle ahead and see if you can find the landmarks for the next couple of lessons. That will help us get going once we get to that page. Another thing to think about is when you see a little bracket under 2 notes, you place the 2 fingers at the same time, but you play one before the other. That's important. And as you play, you're looking for a great technique where your fingers come into the palm, your thumb closes over every time. If you're a really good music reader already, probably a fair bit of this lesson is really familiar to you, and you might feel like zooming ahead. Well, believe me, you will be. But I'm telling you now that if you rush ahead without getting a proper technique, then we will have to backtrack with technique exercises again later. So what you could do with your extra time is practice a gorgeous hand. Listen for a beautiful tone. Keep it slow because it will work better. And remember, we're developing all these muscles so that we can become small muscle Olympians for the harp. So until next time, when we meet back for lesson 4, remember, do practice.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind